Hi and welcome to Creating Cash Flow for Investors. This is our first case study we'd like to share with you. In this episode, what we'll show you is how to turn 3 negatively geared properties into 3 positively cash flow properties, creating a lovely per week cash flow and a guaranteed back-end profit. So, where does it all start? Here's the story. My client John is married with 3 kids and 4 mortgages. One of those mortgages is for his owner-occupied property, and the 3 other mortgages are investment properties that he's purchased with a long-term view to be able to provide a university education for his children without them having to go into debt for this education. John was working full-time on a very, very good income. So, with 3 kids, 4 mortgages, happily married, and a couple of lovely dogs, what could possibly go wrong? That's right, cancer. You can't ever pick who it's going to hit, or when it's going to hit, or if it's going to hit. But this created a potential long-term problem for John, his wife, his 3 kids, his 2 dogs, and also his 4 mortgages. So, what was facing John right at this point in time? Going from having a fantastic income to having no income, to having to pay for medical expenses and other expenses. So let me tell you a bit about John's current situation. John, as at today, was at least $1.2 million in debt. His mortgage commitments across his 4 properties were $10,000 per month. His living expenses per week were approximately $700 to $800 per week. How indeed was John ever going to pay for this? So how did we do it? How were we able to help John out of his very precarious situation that he now finds himself in? Just to recap, John's current situation is as follows. John has 4 properties, one of which is his owner-occupied property, and the remaining 3 are investment properties situated in various states around Australia. The reason John purchased these 3 properties was so that he could provide an education for his children in the future by selling the properties, taking the profit and paying for their education. But now his situation's changed a little bit. John has cancer, no income, and $10,000 a month in mortgage repayments that need to be met. So what did we do? We were able to sell these properties on a rent to buy, whereby John was able to secure a guaranteed purchase price in a 5-year period, get a guaranteed weekly payment from his tenant buyer, and also have a guaranteed back-end profit when they exercise their option in 4 to 5 years' time. So how did the numbers stack up? How did they really look? Property number 2, John's first investment property, owes him $240,000. John's second investment property, property number 3, owes him $280,000. And John's third investment property, property number 4, owes him $500,000. Using a rent to buy, John was able to sell property number 2 for $340,000, property number 3 for $340,000, and property number 4 for $550,000. By now, you're all aware how a rent to buy works. So I'm going to go through the 3 stages or 3 profit areas of a rent to buy strategy. The first profit area is, how much upfront deposit did John get? For property number 1, the consultant was able to get $40,000 paid by the buyer to John for the right to secure the rent to buy property today. Property number 2, John was able to secure a $25,000 deposit for the right to buy the rent to buy property today. And property number 4, on your screen, John was able to secure a $30,000 upfront profit for the right to buy his property on a rent to buy today. So in total, that's $95,000 John was able to achieve in terms of his upfront profit. B, what sort of cash flow was John able to achieve as part of his rent to buy sale? On property number 2 on your screen, John was able to achieve $150 a week positive cash flow. On property number 3 on your screen, $150 a week positive cash flow. And property number 4 on your screen, $300 a week, positive cash flow. Not to mention, John also has his tenant buyers paying all his outgoings, his water rates, his council rates, insurance, repairs and maintenance. And thirdly, probably the most important part of any rent-to-buy sales strategy is a back-end profit. So on property number 2 on your screen, John is able to achieve a $60,000 back-end profit. On property number 3 on your screen, a $35,000 back-end profit. And property number 4 on your screen, a $20,000 back-end profit. So what's the result? You've seen what we were able to do to help John, but let's have a look at the numbers a little bit closer. Firstly, John was able to achieve a $95,000 upfront payment from his 3 tenant buyers, which John used to pay down his owner-occupied mortgage. Secondly, John is now achieving $600 a week positive cash flow. This means that all the mortgages are paid, including his owner-occupied property, and $600 a week is what's left in his pocket after the 3 tenant buyers have paid their weekly mortgage payment to John. John then uses that $600 a week to pay down his owner-occupied mortgage and also cover his living expenses. Number 3, John has $115,000 in realisable profit that he'll be able to utilise in 5 years when the tenant buyers exercise their options. Finally, the total profit, including the weekly payments and the end profit for 3 rent-to-buy properties, is $265,000. What that means is that John was able to turn around a situation where he was having to meet $10,000 a month mortgage payments and turn that into a situation where he was able to sell the 3 properties using a rent-to-buy strategy, collect $95,000 up front, $600 per week weekly cash flow, and $115,000 realisable profit when the option is exercised, for a total profit of $265,000. After hearing all of that, how do you think we were able to make John feel? Extremely happy. And the good news is, he's beaten his cancer, he's still married, he still has 3 kids, 4 mortgages and 2 dogs.